Welcome back to another breakdown. James DeLacy here from Sweet Science of Fighting. We have Ryan Garcia's insane training camp routine. This was from about a year ago. So I've briefly watched, well, not watched, I skimmed through some of this just to see what is where, so you don't have to watch the whole damn video. So we'll skip through to some of the stuff. So it's 8 a.m. Looks like some morning abs for, oh my god, 25 minutes of abs? Damn, okay. I don't believe this is something that is completely necessary for you to do. Morning shadow boxing. Nice. He's got a chef, even better. So he's got some morning movement done. Eats well. Hang on, I know there's some actual training stuff coming up here. 5-mile run at 10:15 a.m. Now I've done a few different videos on, I guess you could say, running for combat sports generally, not just boxing, but obviously road work is seen as the be-all end-all for combat sports fitness and conditioning. You don't have to run. Running is not essential or necessary. You can get all of the adaptations and the quote-unquote fitness you need from doing other things. You don't have to run. Running is just something that is easy to do. It's free. You can do it from anywhere, easily accessible, all that kind of stuff. It's rooted in tradition, so a lot of guys obviously grew up running as part of their training routine, so taking it out would obviously typically cause probably more anxiety than any benefit. So for guys like these, I typically feel like a professional, any combat sport athlete that grew up running as part of their preparation, taking it out probably isn't a good idea. So nothing wrong with him running in the morning. Again, if you're if you're unsure of what other things you can do, any other off-feet cardio piece of equipment, I'm a big fan of extensive medicine ball circuits. If you've watched any of the previous videos, make sure you search on Google extensive medicine ball circuit. There's a bunch on YouTube that you can do, and really nice for striking arts where you have to do a lot of rotation and things like that. Looks like he's got the one and only De La Hoya visiting him. Have any of you actually seen Oscar De La Hoya? He's got fake abs now, so he got that body fat etching thing. So it looks stupid as shit, but you know, these guys do what they do. So a little bit of morning movement, morning 5-mile run, which would be super light and easy for him. It would take nothing out of his training day. 3 hours of boxing, and that just looks like a bunch of different drills. More food, chilling, and I think he's got some strength. There we go, some strength conditioning in. So it says 2 hours of strength conditioning at the end. So let's see what he's got going on here as a pro boxer. So looks like our quarter pin squat. So was it Otto Wallen that I reacted to a few videos back as part of his preparation for Anthony Joshua fight, I think it was. Exact same exercise, quarter squats off the pins, but he did it without bands. Ryan here's doing it with bands. Now again, as I mentioned in that previous video, a really nice way to reduce the range of motion. So depending on where you are in your fight camp or how far away you are from a fight, I'm not sure if Ryan actually has a fight coming up or not, but this will typically be used more of as a peaking, I guess you could say a peaking modality within the strength conditioning training. So you might do full range squats further out from a fight, and then as you're getting closer, you might move to something more like this, where you've reduced the range of motion and you're able to develop what they call starting strength or acceleration or accelerative strength, which is being able to produce a lot of force quickly from a dead stop, so you have no elastic component. So it can be beneficial to do. They've added bands to this, so you can see the band over the side there, so known as accommodating resistance. It's also known as variable resistance, but variable resistance has other meanings as well. So accommodating resistance is a better term for it, but essentially you reduce the time of deceleration. So typically within a normal barbell lift, you spend, I think it's anywhere from like 50% plus time of the lift as you come up from a squat decelerating the barbell. But typically for most sports, you don't want to decelerate into whatever it is. You don't want to decelerate to the end of your punch or decelerate to the end of whatever it is. You want to be able to accelerate through the entire movement. So bands allow you to do that because obviously the resistance increases as you go through the concentric. So you're able to accelerate all the way through the range of motion. And it becomes more of a ballistic force profile, where ballistic meaning, an easy way to think of ballistic is like projectile. So like jumping, you're accelerating into a jump. So it kind of gives you a bit of that, but with load. So it's a nice one. Also increases the eccentric speed as well, but because of the pins in there, it doesn't really matter too much. So he's doing, of course, what looks like it's a complex here. So box jumps. Yeah. So it must be a complex. So nice. That's a really nice complex. It's something you can definitely do if you're looking for a lower body strength and power combination to do, especially as a peaking modality. So a complex is pairing a heavy strength training movement with a light power movement, and you'll often hear contrast sets and complex sets almost interchangeably. However, they're two different things. A contrast set uses the exact same movement, and that second movement is just a lighter version of that same movement. So for example, in this instance, if he was doing, say, heavy squats as his main movement, then the contrast set would be like squats with 30% 1RM as an example for speed. Whereas a complex is that heavy squat and then paired with a light power movement or speed movement, and that's typically unloaded, like jumps, throws, etc. And that's exactly what they're doing there. Now, there is contention or controversy, you should say, whether this phenomenon really exists. It's known as post-activation potentiation, and it's the idea that you're able to lift something heavy, and then by lifting something heavy, your body now thinks that the next thing you're lifting is also heavy. So a really good analogy is, I'm sure you've all done it by accident before, is when you go to pick something up and you think it is heavy, but it's actually light. So a good example would be like you pick up a heavy bucket full with water, and then someone tips out half of it without you knowing, and you go to pick it up again, and it comes off really quickly because you were expecting it to be full and to be that heavy. And that's kind of the concept around this post-activation potentiation. So you do something heavy, typically around 1 to 5 reps. You're looking at like 90% 1RM kind of thing. And then you typically want to rest longest between that exercise and the power exercise, and then less on the other end. Obviously, it just depends on time and all that kind of stuff. So typically you're resting anywhere from, like, depending on the activity you're doing, 3 to like 8 minutes, and then doing the power exercise. Obviously, that's not always feasible. So typically you just kind of walk to your next exercise. When you feel kind of recovered, then you go for your jumps, and then you rest again. Now, the rest time is often dictated by things like your training age, how strong you are, the exercise that you did previously. They all kind of play a role in how long you need to rest to see the greatest outputs in the following exercise. Now, the controversy around this is, one, a lot of people say there's no such thing as a potentiation response. Another thing is people will say that it's just a better warm-up than what they did previously. There's merit into some of those, but in terms of practical use and just taking away from just general science stuff, for practical use is really damn good, and I use it often. In fact, I use it all the damn time with all the athletes I've worked with, even with myself, just because, one, it's a good time saver, and two, it just feels good. Like when you go from something heavy to a jump, it's almost like you're really warm, and then those things just feel better. Also, you're not doing, for example, if he had 3 sets of squats, but also 3 sets of jumps separately, that's 6 sets that could take longer than just pairing them together. So if you're short on time, it's a good way to do a strength power complex together. Then it looks like he's got some abs, some leg press, so some more back extension, foot out to back extension. It's a nice one. It looks like he's running hill sprints after that. Okay, so that's always going. So it's an interesting program put together. So it looks like it's almost like a lower body day. So his split is likely some kind of upper lower split, just based on looking at this. there's nothing wrong with an upper lower split. In fact, I quite like the upper lower split. I'm not saying it's the only way to do it or the best way to do it. It obviously depends on a lot of different factors. There's pros and cons to doing both, right? An upper lower split versus a full body. The upper lower split, the pros are you can keep one half of your body fresh. So you're only working your lower body in this instance. Your upper body is fresh for boxing training the next day, the same day, etc. Typically as well, you get lots of rest between doing your body parts. So your lower body, you're doing this lower body one day, upper body another day, you've got a full week's rest before doing lower body again. So that can be a pro. Obviously the cons are that you're concentrating all of the volume in that session into one part of the body, which can potentially increase fatigue further depending on how the session's set out. And again, you're only hitting those body parts once a week, which can be positive or negative depending on where you are in your training cycle. In terms of the actual exercise selection of this, it's interesting that it's gone that squat from pins and then the leg press is used afterwards. I like the back extension there to get some posterior stuff. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the session together. I think the leg press ends up becoming rather redundant just because of the squat and jumps already being done. So the squat and jumps were the real meat of that training program. Like you could do that and nothing else in this program, and you'd be pretty sorted, especially if you're getting close to a fight. I think adding the leg press on top, just in my opinion and my preference, I think it just ends up being redundant work that probably doesn't need to be there. Maybe something like a lateral lunge I think would fit better in that aspect, because one, you're getting out of the typical just up and down, forward and back movements you get in the gym, so you're getting that side to side, and you're getting the single leg work, and you're just getting out of that up and down rhythm, and then followed by something like this back extension, and that would be just in my preference for a training program like that. But I think that covers, yeah. And then the hill sprint at the end, I understand maybe they're doing it for some kind of speed power benefit, but he already did shadow boxing in the morning, he did a road run, he did 3 hours of boxing. Adding something like this at the end probably isn't necessary. Obviously, I'm just making inferences based on what I see from this little clip, but I would say that based on what he's already done today, potentially that's not needed. If he needs some kind of hard speed work, then it's probably better done on one of the mornings when he's fresh, versus at the end of the day as part of his fourth session of the day, where speed and power is going to be I guess most impacted from what he's already done. But if you enjoyed this, let me know if there's anything else you want me to break down, and make sure you check the description as well. All the programs are down there in the Sweet Science of Fighting Underground, and there's some freebies down there too, so check that out, and I'll see you in the next video.